right, greetings. Welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 122, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studios, downtown Wheeling, here on our first show of the Lenten season. So happy Lenten season for all you Catholic gamblers out there who watch Bettor's Last Stand. Thanks for the support. Didn't get to make it to Mass today, sadly, but plenty of time for that, I guess. We'll hope for the best. Hopefully we can be forgiven. Let's be forgiven for some of our issues that we've had over the previous weeks. We had a very, very strong week, so we're going to touch on that. We're going to talk a little hockey, talk a little MLB spring training. Dodgers and Cubs will be opening up the season here in just a couple of weeks, so that's creeping up on us pretty good. College basketball, get some observations there. We got the Mountain East Tournament going on over at West Bank Arena this weekend, and hit on some golf, which, again, if you want the golf plays on Wednesday so you can get them in for Thursday's tournament, BLS_PRP is where you need to go for that. All right, NASCAR as well. No IndyCar this week, but we'll recap last week's race down at St. Pete Beach, where we had a really, really strong performance. AFL's in action. We were supposed to have 4 games, but now we only got 2 because we got a massive tropical storm that's coming in. Tropical Cyclone Alfred causing all kinds of problems in the Brisbane area of Australia. So we may only have 2 matches this week. That is kind of sad. Indian Wells tennis, just a couple thoughts on that. I didn't love anything there, so I'm going to give you a couple recommendations maybe, but nothing really, really great. And I'm going to have some match plays, BLS_PRP. And then we wrap up with Soccer Champions League. EPL is back this week, so that is good. We didn't have EPL last week, but that's okay. We did okay in the FA Cup. Let's recap last week. Last week, very, very strong. One of the strongest weeks we've had in a long time. We were up over 142 units. So that's if you played $1 a unit, we'll say. I mean, most people would play for more than that, but $1 a unit, you would be up $142.30 on the week. Last week, if you followed all of the Bettor's Last Stand plays. We were strong in soccer. As I said, we were very good in IndyCar, and we were very good in horse racing. We hit a trifecta, a couple trifectas, and a couple of exactas at some of the big Kentucky Derby prep races. So that was a very lucrative weekend for us, a lucrative Saturday. Golf, boy, another bad break in golf. We get Jake Knapp, who shoots a 59 on Thursday, is destroying the course. At one point, we had literally the top 6 golfers in the tournament. We had 7 out of the top 8. And we ended up finishing with just like 3 guys that were in the money. So it was a little bit irritating of a week in golf. Definitely not our best, but boy, it could have been very good. Jake Knapp at 66-1 doesn't get through. And, you're just going to have that from time to time. He probably would have won the tournament anyway on Sunday if he didn't try to hit out of a hazard and just take his medicine and get drop the one shot and be done with it. And then he's all square, and then he can play it out. And we'll get to it in a little bit, but geez, I mean, this Highsmith guy comes out of nowhere, over 1,000-1 in play at one point. I mean, just a crazy story. He wins it at the Cognizant Classic last week. All right, horse racing, we were up 120 units, as I said. Very strong performance there. We had a $264 return on which would have been about $48 per race. So that's 144. So that's where we get to 120 units there, using the $2 base wager and the 50-cent trifecta and $1 exactas, of course, the base wagers for these. The Gotham, we had the 17-1 winner in Flood Zone. When I gave him out on here, he was 8-1. He drifted all the way up to 17-1, and you just can't pass a Brad Cox horse at 17-1. It was a really, really good ride, and I was very impressed. I thought that horse was live, and I heard a lot of people say, no, this horse, he just doesn't have it. He's not one of Brad Cox's best. Well, I disagreed. We gave him out, and he hit for us. Exacta paid $52.75 in that race. Sand Devil for Linda Rice comes in second, so we nailed that one. Fountain of Youth, we had the try and the exacta and the winner. We had Sovereignty for Bill Mott, bet down to 3-1 from his opener of 4-1. Had the trifecta for $68.45 and the exacta for $15.30. So, not bad there. San Felipe, very low payouts in this one. Journalism for Mike McCarthy, 3-1. He was one of the ones we had in the box, and the try paid just $12. Exacta $7.90. Paul Baffert runs second and third with one of our top choices there. But journalism, maybe you see journalism, Sovereignty, and flood zone on the Kentucky Derby Trail. So they'll continue and progress on to their next stop, whether it will be the Wood Memorial, the Florida Derby, or the Santa Anita Derby. So we'll keep apprised of that. Horse racing is starting to heat up. This is the time of year. Get the Tampa Bay Derby this week. I didn't see anything that I liked. If I do find anything, I'll post at BLS_PRP. All right, let's recap some other things. No EPL. Last week, we're on a 92, 52, and 3 run in the EPL over the last 8 weeks. If you count last week, 9 weeks, which there was no plays. So 63% up, 72.85 units, 10-3 run in the Champions League right now, although that came to a crashing halt today. I haven't done the tabulations yet, but we did have Liverpool, I think, and one game might have stayed under the 3.5. But we didn't get off to the start that we needed today, and yesterday, some bad luck as well. Yeah, actually, yesterday, very, very strong. So that was part of the 10-3 run. So I haven't added today's losers to that mix, but 21.35 we were up 21 units and 21.35 units we were up heading into today, and on the last it would have been the last 13 matches in the Champions League. FA Cup, we were 8-3-1 over the weekend, plus 530, so nothing wrong with that. And then in NASCAR, we had Chase Elliott, we had Chris Buescher, we had Alex Bowman, all solid runs at COTA. Chase Elliott a top 5, Buescher and Bowman a top 10. Still lost about a unit and a half at COTA. Beating around the bush again, had some guys in the mix, but couldn't get it done. Chris Bell once more in victory lane. College basketball, 4-4 in the college hoops. Not gotten off to a really, off. I mean, it's almost over, but I haven't really gone on a big tear in college hoops yet. So we'll see. Actually, early in the season, we were doing pretty well. We were giving out those big line movers, and they were coming in pretty good, but it's been a little bit of a struggle. So we'll get back to the drawing board there and see if we can push for some of these conference tournaments. Hockey-wise, Nailers back in town, or out of town this week for Mountain East tournament week. They're at Adirondack. Only got 3 points last weekend. It was better the weekend before that, which was a really poor weekend. So Nailers will be back here in a week, and we'll be hopeful that they can get some of their players back and make a push, although they lost Murashov up to the Penguins. What will happen at the NHL trade deadline? I don't really know. I'd imagine the Penguins are going to be massive sellers, along with a lot of teams. So we're going to keep an eye out for that. Once we eclipse that, which is sometime today, as in Friday, we'll probably have some better opinions about where we're going to go with any hockey futures that we want to add, and some new trend data. Now, the Oilers have been slumping since they came back from the Four Nations Cup break, so it's going to be curious to go through the data and see who's done better off this and who hasn't. Connor McDavid, of course, scoring the winning goal, and he has not done a whole lot for his team since returning, so he could be a little bit emotionally drained. Right now, though, the Oilers, the favorite to win the Cup, I don't see that at all. I don't find them. I don't even think they'll make it back. I do not think they would get past Dallas or Colorado or Winnipeg for that matter. Although Winnipeg's really went in a funk scoring. But the Vegas Golden Knights to me are the team that intrigues me. 12-1. I feel like they are the team to beat in the NHL right now. If I had to make one play for the Stanley Cup, it would be them 100%. They're 12-1 right now. Toronto, I dismissed them immediately. Colorado's tempting at 14-1, but they mixed and matched some strange pieces, and I don't really know how strong they are, but this thing's wide open. If there's a team that could get hot, like the Canucks or, the Wild, they're trying to add some scoring, so maybe that would be, something that could help them. The Devils, they're done. Jack Hughes out for the season. If you didn't see that, he has to have surgery. He is done after that bad crashing into the boards that he had. Winnipeg, pretty solid team, but right after the Four Nations, I started to watch them even more, and I'm thinking, it's probably a situation where maybe they had a little bit of a hangover, or I thought Hellebuck would come back a little rusty. He was not, and he's played well, but they can't score. They literally can't score. They scored one goal, I think, the last 3 games, and I don't love them. Like, I didn't love them going into that break. I don't love them now, and I don't know. It's a long way to go in the NHL, but to me, Vegas Golden Knights the strongest team. I dismissed Toronto immediately. Dallas, man, they just never get it done. Their goaltending always lets them down. Florida, without Matt Tkachuk, I don't know if they can repeat. They're trying to add some resources, perhaps. I don't like Carolina's game at all. They just don't do it for me. I watch them play. I just don't see it. There's a team like Tampa Bay that could get hot. And honestly, Washington, who's played really well all season, they are a team worth keeping an eye on. So we'll reassess after the trade deadline and go from there. But It's MLB spring training. It's right around the corner with the MLB opening day. We got the Dodgers and Cubs doing battle in Japan here in a few days. Not a whole lot of new observations from it. Same teams are going to be good. Same teams are going to suck for the most part. I mean, we gave out the futures. If you missed those futures, go back BLS_PRP. I'll recap all those probably next week once we get settled in with the conference tournaments, the big conference tournaments, and then March Madness. So we'll have a couple of weeks before we get into to the final couple days of spring training. March 18th and 19th is when the Cubs and Dodgers do battle. Full opening day will be on the 27th of March. College basketball update. Well, a lot of the same things hold true that we talked about the last few weeks, about teams who are pretenders, teams who aren't. I feel like I have a pretty good eye for these, and it's not always about covering spreads, but if you're getting into the futures market, I feel like you can kind of establish where you're going to be and who's actually going to have a shot of winning this thing. I immediately dismissed Tennessee. I don't think they have enough. I don't think Iowa State can win it after assessing them more. St. John's continues to sit there at 25-1. Will they go into a cold spell? Probably, and that probably will cost them, but they could absolutely. If they shoot the ball well, they could make the Final Four, no question about it. Michigan State, well coached, not great offensively, solid defensively, know how to close out games. They're 28-1. That's another team we gave out weeks and weeks and weeks ago. But then you got all these other teams that are on the fringe. Missouri, I don't think they can do it. Texas A&M, they had a big win last night against Auburn. That's a fluke. Auburn's overlooking them to play Alabama. Texas A&M is no threat. Their offense is horrendous. Wisconsin, I can't count on them. Great guard teams, they just don't, I don't know. Something about them. They had I liked them this week on Sunday against Michigan State. They were not very good. Kentucky, they're a little bit interesting. I said before, I don't know how they are off the home court, but they're pretty solid. I think Mark Pope does a good job. So I don't discredit them totally. 40-1, that's not a bad price. I'm not thinking that they will win it or make the Final Four, but I think they can make the Elite Eight. They did lose one of their guards, which hurts to a wrist injury. Texas Tech also 40-1. That's been a team that I've been getting more and more interested in. I think they are a worthy contender. I think they play good enough on both sides of the floor that they can be a team that can make it to Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. So Texas Tech will be a team I would be buying on for sure. You know how I feel about Maryland. No chance with them. They are not consistent enough. They are not well coached enough. They make too many mistakes. Arizona really hit the skids. Don't like them anymore. Gonzaga, not the same Gonzaga. Purdue is terrible. Marquette is not very good. Kansas is not good. Clemson is not good. Illinois is going to be good eventually. Illinois could be a team that could upset somebody, but they could also be upset by a team that's a double-digit underdog to them. So Illinois, not their time yet. BYU continue to play hot, 70-1 right now. Not a team that I would pass on right now. If they keep this up, keep the momentum going into the Big 12 tournament, I think BYU, a very good, dangerous team. They run great offense, well-coached team. Mississippi State, just so-so. No good on Michigan. Louisville's not any good. Creighton's no good. UConn, not what they once were. St. Mary's is dangerous. I think they could run out there pretty good. I think UCLA, too. With the right matchups, teams that don't score a ton, I think UCLA could be very problematic at 90-1, and Ole Miss at 90-1. Ole Miss has Tennessee this week, or tonight, actually, so I'll see how they do in that game, but I think they are a team that is worth looking at. Even Memphis at 120-1. They haven't played a whole lot because their league's not that good, but when they did step out and play some of the big boys early in the season, they held their own. So Memphis at 120 worth a shot. The rest of these teams toss away immediately. Oregon, Vanderbilt's just, they're okay. Not bad, though, but just Utah State, Jared Calhoun, no chance. Texas stinks, even though they won last night. Baylor, no good. Arkansas, I think Calipari gets them into the tournament, but I don't know if they can do much. New Mexico, I think, could win a game or two in the tournament, so I wouldn't completely discredit them. Villanova, no shot. WVU, no shot. We'll stop with that. Getting down to it. Got a few plays in college basketball as far as the conference tournaments go. A couple of the smaller conference tournaments as they start this week. Of course, we have Mountain East tournament going on over at West Banco Arena, but a few leagues that I was a little bit interested in early on. Let's see. Horizon League. I thought maybe Milwaukee, but they have a tough matchup in the second round, so I don't love their path here. Plus 255. They've probably been the best visual team that I've seen in that league. I mean, Purdue, the Mastodons of IPFW, they're not bad if things go their way. Even Robert Morris is okay. I don't know how, but they've been playing better. Oakland's just so-so. Cleveland State, I like Milwaukee the best, But Milwaukee, they got to get by that next round. If they can get in the semifinals, I like Milwaukee, but I don't know. So I'm not sure I'm even going to push play on that one. Missouri Valley Conference, I thought this was between a couple of teams that could potentially upset their way to a tournament victory. Of course, Drake is the darling of this league. Everybody thinks they'll be a strong team in the NCAA tournament. But I thought taking a shot at number 2 seed Bradley at 3-1 was worth it. Drake and Belmont would likely match up in the semis in Northern Iowa, and Bradley wasn't enamored with Northern Iowa. I like Bradley. I liked what they've done body of work-wise. They beat most of these teams. I think they got a shot, but I thought Illinois State was a little bit interesting too at 13-1. So keep an eye on the Illinois State Redbirds. Maybe a team that can possibly get into the semis or the final maybe, and then you can kind of work with some hedging opportunities there if you get them there to lock in a price. The Southern Conference, I think that the Furman Paladins, the number 5 seed, were worth a peek. Now they have a little bit of a tough road, but they will probably take on Samford, who I think will have no problem beating. And then they would get the number 1 seed Tennessee Chattanooga, who's lost to a lot of these teams that are in this tournament. I don't feel comfortable betting Tennessee Chattanooga at plus 245. So I thought Furman at just south of 7-1 was worth a shot. And I thought the Wofford Terriers at just south of 5-1 in the 6th seed. Maybe a little Wofford-Furman exacta there in the finals, which would pay very, very nice. So we're going to keep an eye on those two teams in the Southern Conference. And then you got the Coastal Athletic Conference, which is formerly the Colonial, which I would prefer to call it. Towson, the favorite here, plus 330. I looked at their schedule. I thought they had some areas where they really didn't play that good. They beat Drexel 2 times, but one of them in overtime and the other one by 1 point. So I thought that was very interesting. Drexel, the 8 seed, a team they may see right away. And then the Elon Phoenix, who were the 9 seed. So if Drexel doesn't get there, it would be Elon, and Elon already beat them. So I think that the Towson Tigers are a little bit vulnerable here. I thought if Drexel could somehow beat Elon, and I think they have a real good shot against Towson, at 18-1, I think Drexel could at least make it to the semifinals, possibly to the final here. So that's an 8 seed, taking a small nibble on them, little ham sandwich money there, or a bag of popcorn money. Throw a few bucks on Drexel in the Colonial Athletic Association, the CAA, which also is called the Coastal now. And then the Big Sky Conference, that one also starting on Saturday. All those tournaments that I mentioned starting this weekend, early round action. Big Sky Conference, I looked through these teams. I thought Northern Colorado, the number 1 seed, a little vulnerable, plus 180. I thought that was a little too short. Montana as well, plus 270. Their trip out of their side was very difficult, probably because I think number 3 Portland, the Portland State Vikings, have a shot at plus 425. They would get Montana in the semis should they both advance, and they split with Montana this year. And they also split with number 1 seed Northern Colorado. So I think that Portland State is a team that makes a little bit of sense here. This tournament played in Idaho. That's not a bad trip it's not a bad trip for most of these schools. But I like the way Portland's playing. They play Portland State, that is. I don't want to say the Portland Pilots. This is the Portland State Vikings. They've won 3 in a row at the end this season. So I think Portland State is a team to back in the Big Sky at 425. Those are some of the college basketball plays that I'm looking at for the weekend. Of course, BLS_PRP. I'll have all of those. Mountain East Tournament got underway on Wednesday. It's still going right now. If you missed it, West Liberty, of course, the favorite on the men's side, and Fairmont, the favorite on the girls' side, followed by West Virginia Wesleyan, Frostburg, Charleston, who just took out West Liberty. Concord also in there at 7-1. Glenville at 7-1. Charleston was 9-1. Frostburg 6-1. Fairmont minus 115. Concord 750. Wesleyan plus 265. State at 12-1. State also a winner in early round action. For the men, it was West Liberty minus 165. The second choice, Fairmont plus 215, followed by Concord at plus 550. I'm sorry, Charleston actually at $5 was the third choice. Then you got State at 725. Then you got Wheeling at 18-1. Glenville at 11-1. And Frostburg at 16-1. D&E and Point Park pretty much have no chance. Again, you can find all these at the Wheeling Island Hotel, Casino, Racetrack, and Sportsbook. Come on over there. We got the futures updated every day. I got game lines for all of the games, men's and women's action throughout the entire weekend at West Banco Arena. You can hear some of those games right here. Any of the games where West Liberty or Wheeling are featured in them, you can hear it right here on the Watchdog Radio Network. So again, thanks for tuning in to Bettor's Last Stand here today. And you might be hearing West Liberty basketball this evening. I believe we will have the West Liberty game against either Wheeling or Oh boy, who's Wheeling play? I'm losing my train of thought. Who Wheeling plays? D&E tonight. So yeah, so the winner of that one you'll hear right here tonight on the Watchdog Radio Network. All right, let's shift over to golf here as we roll on and try to condense everything into an hour worth of great radio, bringing you into your weekend. Hopefully you can get some winners. We were up 142 units last week, so if you were on board, you probably have a little jingle in your pocket right around the time of March Madness. That is a good thing. All right, Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill in Orlando. Last week, again, we were narrowly escaped victory once more. Jake Knapp, even with the 59, couldn't get it done. Highsmith gets the job done at over 1,000 to 1 in play. It was like 250 pre-flop, which is just insane. So congrats to him. That big giant hat that he had on, I don't know how he did it, but it was not fun seeing our guys fade down the leaderboard on Sunday afternoon. But we're going to try to get back into the winners column, and I thought Ludwig Aubert, who we hit with a few weeks ago, 14 to 1, thought his price is pretty fair. His game really, really, really strong right now. He is going to be in contention to win this, I would imagine, barring any type of injury or massive setback on a single hole potentially could sink you, but this field's starting to get good. Scotty Scheffler is the favorite at plus 320, but I thought Ludwig Aubert at 14 to 1. That's a little bit too big of a gap between Scheffler and him. I think that's probably a little narrower than 11 to 1. So we're going to go with Ludwig Aubert as our top play, followed by Patrick Cantlay at 25 to 1. His game's starting to round into form. Not a fan of that guy at all, but he's playing pretty good. And then Daniel Berger. I am not going off the Daniel Berger train. I think he has a very good chance here to win this tournament at 55 to 1. Don't sleep on Daniel Berger. Sahith Theegala, we had him a few weeks ago, didn't perform up to par, but 90 to 1. He was 6th here last year. Definitely in contention, even if you're going to play him in a top 10 capacity, top 20, something like that. Russell Henley's been playing great golf. He's 40 to 1. He was 4th here last year. We'll use him. And Shane Lowry, who made the move down here to Florida and has played this course quite a bit. His game very strong. 3rd here last year. 50 to 1 on Lowry. We'll take a shot. And then Will Zalatoris, we talked about him getting back into good health. He's coming around. He's 45 to 1. I thought the prices on a couple of these guys that were playing are pretty strong. So Will Zalatoris at 45 to 1. And then Brian Harman, a guy who they say he plays hard courses very well. And I think from what I've read that this course can suit left-handed players pretty decently. So we're going to go with Brian Harman at 100 to 1. So again, Brian Harman at 100 to 1, Will Zalatoris at 45 to 1, Shane Lowry at 50 to 1, Russell Henley at 41, Sahith Theegala 90 to 1. I forgot Ash K. Bhatia at 70 to 1. Add him to the portfolio. Ludwig Aubert at 14 to 1, Patrick Cantlay at 25 to 1, and Daniel Berger at 55 to 1. Those are our Arnold Palmer Invitational plays here on Bettor's Last Stand. Again, you can get all the golf plays on Wednesday. Now, again, a perfect example of when in play shouldn't scare you. Sometimes you're going to get better prices than what I give out here. A lot of the times you will. If a guy comes out and he doubles a couple holes, or no, I don't want to say doubles a couple because that's usually a hole you don't want to dig out of, but he bogeys twice on the front nine and he doesn't have his feet under him yet. Then he gets hot. I mean, his number goes up immensely. Or if you have a guy like Jake Knapp get out to a 59. I mean, the guy shoots 59. And these other guys that are way back there, 10, 12 shots behind after just a half a round of golf, well, you know what? Their odds are going to quadruple. And you can go ahead and get good guys at a really good price. And then as the water finds this level on the weekend, you get moving day on Saturday and guys start to position themselves. And some guys come back. Jake Knapp's lucky to scratch out a par round after the 59. So that stuff's going to happen. And that will happen here at the Arnold Palmer Invitational too. So don't get scared off a guy. If you hear this on Friday and you see one of my players or the guys that we selected here, not 6-7 shots off the lead, don't be scared. Pull the trigger if it's something you want to try to do. All right, keeping it rolling on here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 122. Let's talk about some things that didn't go the way of people over the weekend. And I would say this is a thing that has bothered me for quite a while. And I put this under bad beats because we've all been beaten by this at a time or two. Hopefully someday you get on the right side of this. It's when coaches do not foul when leading by 3 points with the shot clock off. The team that's trailing's got the ball. You just made free throws or whatever. You're up by 3. You don't want to allow a 3-pointer to tie the game and force overtime, obviously. You don't want to let them hit a 3 and you foul them, of course. So foul on the floor, even if this is shooting foul, you still are in an advantage. If you can block out, you will have the ball and you will run time and you will make them continue to chase you if you have guys that can shoot free throws. Now, I get it. You need a few variables, but I'll never understand why coaches continue to try to defend these three-pointers because they're indefensible anymore. Guys just shoot them too well. Guys practice this. That's all they do, and you're just asking for trouble. So here's the example over the weekend. It's Missouri, -2. Missouri, multiple chances to foul up 3 late in regulation. Well, no, they don't. They let Vanderbilt, they play the game out a little bit longer. Oh, well, eventually Vanderbilt, guess what they do? They hit the 3 to tie the game to send it in OT. Okay, great job, Missouri, you idiots. So guess what happens in overtime? 97-93, Vanderbilt is victorious. If Missouri would have fouled in that situation with under 10 seconds left, there's a very, very good chance that they would have won the game. It was a really, really high percentage. I would say 92% that they would have won that game. So poor job by Missouri's coach, but a poor job by a lot of coaches. And I will say, I saw this work against me the other way because I had a team who was laying 3.5 the other night in one of these first-round conference tournament games, and they were smart enough because what I needed is to go overtime because I had no opportunity, or I needed the team to miss the 3 that they let them shoot and get, my team get the rebound and get fouled, and then you either make 4 or then you get to 5. But no, they were smart. Up 3, they fouled. So the other team was only always going to be up either or down either 2 or 1 after the free throws. So yeah, it didn't go well for me, and the game ended on 3. So, but that coach did it the right way, in my opinion. Just didn't help my bet. And then the other bad beat of the week, the AFL, of course. We had to postpone 2 matches for the first time in 62 years of Australian rules football. Tropical Cyclone Alfred getting ready to wreak havoc, especially in the Brisbane area of Australia. So thoughts with those people, and thoughts with the Brisbane Lions and Geelong Cat fans and the Gold Coast Suns and the Essendon Bombers, who were now cycloned out for this week. But that's okay. We got plenty more rounds, and they'll make those up, and we'll be ready to go with a full season of AFL football, and I am very, very excited about that. We'll talk about AFL here momentarily, but let's get to some industry news. How about this? A survey from U.gov. Interesting survey. 56% of bettors place at least one parlay per week, according to the survey. Only 5% of sports bettors say they avoid parlays altogether. And those are part of the percentage of the people that might have a chance of winning, whether they just play in play or they play futures, which is, you have your best advantages in your futures markets and in your in plays. No question about it. Parlays reduce your chances of winning very, very, very significantly. So remember that, folks. Parlays are not a winning long-term solution to your sports betting quandaries. A record $31.7 million was bet on table tennis in Colorado in January, the second straight record month. So I don't know what kind of fans they have out there in Colorado, but wow, these table tennis numbers, very impressive. Kansas guard Zeke Mayo says he was targeted by bettors on social media after Kansas's loss to Texas Tech on Saturday. He called the culprits driven by gambling and hate. So we never condone that here on Bettor's Last Stand. We think it's absolutely ridiculous. You should not be singling out these kids. I get it. Now with all these scandals, which we got more things in the news about that we're going to get to here in a second. But you can't be doing that to kids. I mean, most of these kids are playing it because they love the game and they're really trying to help their teams win. And it's wrong to treat people like that in general, period. And, you can't be going after people on social media and just going off on them. It's just not right. Now, in my opinion, kids have to be tougher, censor yourself. In my opinion, athletic departments should encourage all student athletes to not have social media. That would be very, very beneficial to them from a mental standpoint, for sure. And it's just from a harmonious standpoint. Not having social media is a blessing. Now, obviously, you want BLS_PRP on Twitter or X, but that's for informational reasons. That is not a personal account. And, we're providing information and data and things like that. So those are fine. News is fine. Real news, if you can find it. But Twitter is a very good source for news nowadays. It didn't used to be, but now it is. And, so that's good. But personal messaging and stuff, turn that stuff off. Don't do direct messages. I know it's popular amongst friend circles, or you're chasing girls or whatever, that you want to have that ability, but find another way. Don't let these idiots who bet on games ruin your life by accosting you on social media. So hang in there, Zeke. It'll get better. Fresno State players reported playing daily fantasy, manipulating their own stats. How about this? The program remains under investigation for it. 2 players have been dismissed from the team. Now, the players say they were just betting their point totals over, and that's all they were trying to do. Whether or not that's true, we'll see. But if it was, okay, I don't have a serious problem. This isn't even legalized sports betting. This is would be classified as daily fantasy. And in Fresno, as you probably are aware, California is not a legalized sports betting state. So you have DFS legalized in California. You do not have sports betting. So these DFS sites where you have the prop points and things like that are totals, you parlay them together with something else, and you can pay them out. They're more like, I don't say lottery tickets, but they're usually several legs you got to put into the bets. I don't know if they have straight wagering in California or not. I know Delaware had these for a while. You couldn't do single bets. You'd had to parlay them all. But if you did this, it was probably not a good idea. But if you're betting, if your total was 11.5 in the game and you think you could score, 15, okay, I don't personally have an issue with that. I feel like it might motivate you to do it better, but I don't know. Nonetheless, rules need to be in place. And again, regulation is the key here. We're catching all this because of regulated and legalized sports betting. Another scandal, New Orleans. They're part of the ring of NBA and college basketball, that gambling ring. We've been talking about it here week after week with the Eastern Michigan, with the Jonte Porter, with the Terry Rozier, with the Mississippi Valley State, and on and on and on. We'll add New Orleans, the privateers. We mentioned them last week. We didn't have a lot of information. They have now been linked to this probe. 4 of their players have now been suspended pending investigation. So we'll see what New Orleans has in store here and what their players were guilty of here. This is really a far-reaching, and it looks like they really went after a lot of the bad programs in Division I basketball, that is for sure. The Phoenix Suns are an NBA worst 21-39-1 against the spread this season and are on pace to have the worst ATS season ever since 1995-96 when they were 31-51. We're going to do a lot of NBA here, but I thought that was an interesting tidbit for sure. Upcoming events, we got Indian Wells going on here. As I said, I'm going to touch briefly on that. Mountain East tournament over at West Bank Arena all weekend long. Stop on over. AFL kicks off this week. We got Miami Open and tennis coming up here in a couple of weeks. March Madness, of course, 2 weeks from today. You'll be March Madnessing it. Knocking off early, getting excited about that. The Masters, April 10th. Got the Frozen Four, April 10th. NFL Draft, April 24th. The Kentucky Derby, May 3rd. The PGA Championship, May 15th. And the French Open on May 25th. I forgot when I was talking about golf, next week is the Players' Championship. So the de facto 5th major of the golf circuit next week. So should be a good one. And we got the Arnold Palmer this week, of course. All right, let's shift gears here on Bettor's Last Stand. Again, thanks for joining us here on the Watchdog Radio Network. WatchdogNetwork.com is where you want to be for high school basketball action, whether it's girls, whether it's boys. It was the Wheeling Park Patriots getting knocked out. The Lady Patriots losing at University the other night. They are done. Wheeling Central still in action as they are probably playing right about now. And you can hear that one on the Watchdog Network. You probably listened to that a couple of days ago on the Watchdog Network. Should Central win, you will have them being covered. I believe we will supplant the Metro News feeds for those Central games when they head down to Charleston. Same goes for the boys. We'll have boys regional action coming up this week on the Watchdog Network. So tune in on Monday's show for the Pine Room on the Watchdog, and we'll give you the whole rundown of which games will be available. Again, Mountain East action with West Liberty and Wheeling. Featured will be here on the Watchdog Network all weekend long as well, along with WVU men's and women's basketball. WVU women will be in conference tournament play, while the WVU men will be rounding out the regular season after a nice win the other night at Utah, giving them a fighting shot at getting into the NCAA tournament. All right, let's get over to auto sports. It is NASCAR time. You gotta like it. It's already getting me very excited as we're now into our 4th week of NASCAR. But first, we're going to talk about IndyCar. So IndyCar, we had a really good start to our IndyCar season last week. We had Alex Palou, the winner at the St. Petersburg Grand Prix. He gets the job done, leads 26 laps for Chip Ganassi. We also had Scott Dixon, who finished second. I believe Scott might have been 10-1 We had Scott McLaughlin, who was 6 or 7 to 1, and then we had Christian Lundgaard, who was 8 to 1. So we had a really, really strong showing there with our top 5s and top 10s, and we had Palou win it. So it was a very, very good and lucrative week for us in the IndyCar circuit. And you know what you want to do after you hit an IndyCar and you're thinking, wow, I'm doing pretty well here. I want to keep this rolling into next week. Well, sorry, IndyCar doesn't have a race until the 23rd, which is really, really frustrating. Their next race will be at the Cal Thermal track on the 23rd of March. So a couple weeks off for IndyCar. Again, a nice tickets if you bet that race. We had Palou. We had the first and second place finishers along with the 4th and the 8th. So that aided to our 142 unit gain last week here on Bettor's Last Stand. All right, let's get into NASCAR. Stock cars is where it's at. That's our main focus here. We got the Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway, Phoenix, Arizona. This will be a 3:30 green flag on Fox on Sunday afternoon. But let's recap last week's action. It was the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Chris Bell, he only leads 8 laps, but they're the 8 that count. Joe Gibbs Racing gets into victory lane for the second straight week. Bell goes back-to-back with the win there at COTA. So impressive performance by him. He was 9 to 1. I was not on him. It's hard to repeat. I said that last week. I couldn't do it. I know he runs well there, but couldn't do it. William Byron 2nd. And you got Tyler Reddick 3rd. Chase Elliott, we did have him. He came in 4th. We had Chris Buescher 7th and Alex Bowman in 8th. The young phenom Connor Zilic had some issues. He crashed. He finished dead last. Daniel Suarez, one of our picks, no good. Ty Gibbs, another one of our picks, no good. It was a little tricky. Kyle Busch, I thought, ran very well. We'll get to that in a moment because I think he could be a guy worth keeping an eye on this week. So we go to Phoenix, our first smaller oval track, our first intermediate track. So we've had 2 super speedways, we've had a road course, and now we're going to go to an intermediate. The guys to look for here: Kyle Larson, he's 6 to 1. Chris Bell, now 4 to 1, the favorite here. Ryan Blaney, 5 to 1, who's very good here. If you remember the championship races the last 2 seasons, Ryan Blaney was our pick at Phoenix. He didn't win this year because it was Laguna, or this past year. 2 years ago he did, and he won the championship. So he runs very well there. Of course, Larson runs well there at 6 to 1, and Bell at 4 to 1. So those are the guys that you focus on as the favorites. William Byron probably a close 7-8 to 1 range. Denny Hamlin around 8-9 to 1 at Phoenix. But I zeroed in on a couple of guys that I thought had very, very good value. Kyle Busch is one of them. He's 24 to 1 on the opening line here. He's got 3 wins here at Phoenix. He ran very well last week. I think there's a little bit more confidence in the Childress garage this year for Kyle Busch. I like what I'm seeing out of his team so far. He's got an 11.5 all-time average there, average position. That's very, very good for as many races as he's won there, and he's had, some DNFs like everybody has. So 24 to 1 on Kyle Busch, really, really good price. Also thought Tyler Reddick, who's ran in the top 10 here the last 2 times that we've been at the Phoenix Raceway, and Reddick ran 3rd last week. His momentum has been very solid to start the season for 23-11 racing. So around 14.5, 15 to 1 on Tyler Reddick. Those are my top 2 choices, Busch and Reddick. I think both of them very strong. Numbers make sense. I would use Blaney here, but I can't bet him at 5 to 1. There's just too many other good racers right now. I thought Chase Briscoe was interesting. He's now in the 19 car that Martin Truex used to drive. Truex finished 7th here last year. I think Truex had some success at Phoenix in the past, and I think that Briscoe will kind of take that car, and he already was running pretty well there anyway, and now he gets in a better car, better ride, better team. I think Briscoe's live at around 11 to 1, so I thought the price was a tad short, so I don't love that. That's why he's not my top pick, but we'll probably use Briscoe. We'll see how he qualifies. Then I thought Ross Chastain at 16 to 1 worth a peek. He's been running pretty well. He's won at Phoenix in the past, so we're going to take a shot with Ross to get into victory lane. And then Brad Keselowski. He's never won at Phoenix, but he's got a pretty good average finish, and he's battled, and he's just a guy that I feel like when the momentum starts to turn the right way, you want to be around him. And last March, he finished 4th in this race. So I think Brad Keselowski could be a little bit live in this one. And at 30 to 1, 29, 30 to 1, I think that's a great price on a former multiple-time champion in NASCAR. So again, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, and Brad Keselowski are plays at the Shriners Children's 500 in Phoenix, Arizona on Sunday. And we'll say again, you can find these at BLS_PRP. I usually recommend playing them win top 10 or win top 5, top 10 for the racing and for the golf. If you just going back to the golf, usually play the golf. You break it into, if you take one unit and you break it into thirds. You could do a top 10, a top 20 in golf. Since there's so many more players in golf, that makes more sense. In NASCAR, you only got about 37 to 40 drivers, so top 20 is not really going to do a whole lot. So anyway, that's how I usually do it. If you have questions, of course, you're always welcome to call in the Pine Room Radio Show each week on the Watchdog. We were on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. We were at West Bank Arena the other day getting ready for the Mountain East Tournament. So you can always catch us on there. You can call the hotline, the Frio and Stack Auction Service hotline. You can text us if you have questions. Be happy to answer them. You can email us at the Pine Room Studios or get us on social media. You can message us at BLS_PRP. You can go to PineRoomStudios.com. Anywhere you can find Pine Room and Watchdog stuff, you can get a hold of us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions about any type of betting thing. If there's more things you want us to talk about, if stuff that you don't understand, I'll be happy to break it down. Do not be embarrassed. We will not expose you. We will put anonymous by your name. Doesn't matter. We're here to try to help. We try to learn and learn and learn and learn. That's how you get better at everything in life, really. And sports betting, no different. One thing I did forget, I did have a couple of golfers from the Live Golf at Hong Kong. I thought Paul Casey at 33-1. Ben Campbell at 40-1, Patrick Reed at 30-1, and Carlos Ortiz at 31-1 were all four legitimate candidates to maybe win here at Live in the Sheng Shui Hong Kong Golf Classic. So enjoy that one. I don't know if you'll be getting up to see that, but if you are, it'll give you something else to watch here in the early morning hours. You have AFL here very, very soon. That is one good thing. A couple games short this week, that is for sure. All right, let's get to tennis briefly. It is the I can't remember the name of the sponsor. Paramus. I'll say Paramus. Paramus Holiday Inn, where an alien predicted the end of the world in Ghostbusters, if you remember that. I think it was Holiday Inn Paramus, but the Paramus Indian Wells. It's a Paramus Open at Indian Wells. A storied tennis tournament out in California. Hard courts. It's not. I couldn't really classify it as a fifth major, but it's in the mix. It's one of your top 8 tournaments of the whole season, and the players get up for it. So it's a good measuring stick as they start to get ready to transfer over to clay court season and wind down the first part of the hard court season. And I was looking through at some of the potential players that I thought maybe could make a little bit of noise here. Last year you had Coco Gauff beat Maria Sakkari in the women's, and then you had Daniil Medvedev, who I gave out last week as a guy that I thought would be a very good contender here. He lost to Carlos Alcaraz in the final last year in the men's. So any of these hard court players that are in decent form on either side, I think maybe could be worth a peek. I thought for the women, I thought that Potapova maybe. Karolina Muchova coming back from injury. Maybe you see what kind of price you can get on her. I thought Jessie Pegula maybe has a little bit of an outside shot here. Maybe Swiatek's getting back into form, but I just can't bet her. Her odds are too low, and she's doping, and it's, I don't know how that's going to affect her with getting heckled or whatever, but something was off with her and Sinner, in my opinion, all along. It's just they were too robotic, almost like Drago in the Rocky movie. So something was just off with them. So I'm not surprised that they're getting in trouble for that, and we'll see what comes of it. If anything, it doesn't look like a whole lot of penalties have been placed on them. And the men's side, I thought Shapovalov, the Canadian, I know that doesn't sound like a Canadian name, 16-1. He started the season off pretty strong like him. I think Ben Shelton, the American, 7-1. He might be worth a peek. And then Felix Auger-Aliassime, also a Canadian, very, very strong start to the season for him. And this is a guy that a few years ago I would say his talent level is exceptional. Like, this guy can play with anybody. He just didn't have the I guess he just doesn't have the experience that a lot of the other guys have had. And, that takes time. And sometimes it's tough, and guys will have setbacks and things don't go their way. Djokovic at 3-1, but he's in the same quarter as Alcaraz. So that might be a little bit tough. I'm not certain that he could get that done. But those are some guys and girls that I'm looking at in Indian Wells, and I will post any plays that I do play going forward as we get into the better rounds of action here a little too early to make any match plays, but hopefully for the weekend there's a few things that stand out to us. All right, Finishing up here, Bettor's Last Stand, show number 122 here on the Watchdog Radio Network, getting you ready for basketball, action-packed weekend. You got West Liberty basketball coming up tonight here on the Watchdog from the Mountain East Conference Tournament. Got Mountaineers tomorrow. Got regional basketball continuing on, and hopefully state tournament basketball in the future for our local teams. You can tune into watchdognetwork.com for all the streams, and that's where you want to be. You can Bluetooth it, do whatever you need to do. All right, let's get into Australian rules football. I won't save the best for last. We'll go, since we're a couple games short, we'll talk about them here right now. So I gave out my Aussie rules futures last week. Sydney Swans were a team that I think will take a small decline. Hawthorne Hawks, I'm not super high on them. And a lot of people are. I thought their win total and stuff was right where it needed to be. Their odds fair. They did play a lot better last year. This was the team that was in the bottom of the league about 2.5 years ago, and they've turned it around. They've drafted well. They've developed players very, very well. So they're a quality side. And you can find the opening game of the season, which was supposed to be Geelong and Brisbane, coming up tomorrow morning, but it's now going to be Hawthorne and Sydney coming up this morning. So if that makes any sense to you. Hawthorne and Sydney, it'll be at Sydney. Sydney is the home team. Sydney minus 1.5. The total 170.5. Now, rain and wind is expected. Now, they're not going to get the level that the folks over in the Sydney area are going to get in Brisbane as well. But if you look across the entire map of Australia, these other areas are going to get beat up pretty bad as well with the heavy rains and such. So you're going to have, the Sydney area is going to get heavy rains. That's what GWS, Greater Western Sydney, and the Sydney Swans are the two home teams that will be playing games. So Sydney's going to get a lot of rain. It's going to get a lot of wind. I was looking at the wind. It's going to be like 35 miles an hour. So I was stunned to see this total still at 170.5. So I would say if you get this by the time you hear this, I would be hopping on that really quickly. Now you're probably missing the Sydney and Hawthorne game. That's why I post these at BLS_PRP. But you should be in time for the Collingwood and GWS game. And GWS, a team pretty high scoring, so this total's up there. Collingwood, a team that I'm expecting to bounce back strong. This game suits them much better with the rain. With they just are a very controlled midfield, and with Dacos, maybe the front runner for the Brownlow medal. I think they are a team that's going to be very, very equipped to win in the rain and the wind. So we'll go with Collingwood, and that is the Collingwood Magpies. They are minus 5.5 against the GWS Giants at GWS. Total 167.5. We're going to go under 167.5. I think rain and wind's going to play a factor here, as well as it's early in the season. Guys aren't going to have their marks from kicking from distance, I wouldn't think, right away. It's going to take a while to get back into game shape, so we'll see. A lot of kicks may go wide. You may see a lot of behinds. Behinds over the total, if you can find a combo on that, means total team behinds, which means secondary scores. If you can find those, that might be a good thing to bet over as well in a game like this, because you could see some wind blowing things off target, and you could get a lot of behinds in this game, as well as the Hawthorne and Sydney. I'm going to go with Sydney and home in that one, basically a pick 'em, and we're going to go under 170.5. Again, that one you probably will not get by the time the show is released. So you'll have to check out BLS_PRP if you wanted that one, and you can do that each and every week for the AFL. And all right, winding it down, where we've made our bread and butter the last few weeks. I guess we say horse racing was pretty good last week. Again, if you're just joining us here on the Watchdog Network, we were up 142 units. I don't like to gloat about that, but that was a very solid week. Horse racing, very strong. Soccer, very strong. Golf, pretty decent. IndyCar, very, very strong. EPL run right now, 92, 52, and 3 in our last 8 weeks, 63% up, 72.85 units. We are running hot right there. We're going to try to keep it going. It's Premier League action on Saturday morning. That's tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Manchester City at Nottingham Forest. City minus 110, Forest plus 280. You can get a draw for about plus 275. So you're looking at Nottingham right around the same price as the draw. The total on this game, 3. Manchester City has given up a lot of goals, but they have outscored Nottingham Forest. This is not the same City team, so let's just preface it with that. They've outscored Nottingham Forest 14-1 in the last 5 games. I don't think that's going to continue. Will City score? Probably. I think both teams will score in this game, but I like the game over the 3. I think if you can find 3, actually a little juice to the under, you might get a plus price on the over 3. I think Nottingham Forest has a goal in them, and I mean they're minus 330 to score, so I think that would probably be an indication that the bookmakers think they will score. I think they will score, so I think maybe Forest gets this, and maybe it's a 2-2 type game. So we're going to go with both teams to score in Forest and City and over the 3.5 total. 10 a.m. on Saturday, Fulham at Brighton. It will be Brighton minus 105, Fulham plus 275. This number surprised me quite a bit. Fulham's a pretty decent team. I know this is at Brighton. Brighton's been playing very, very well of late, and I don't take anything away from Brighton. I just thought that was quite a wide gap there. Brighton not playing well enough, in my opinion, to be a minus money favorite here. Fulham has gotten points in the last 10 games against Brighton. So that is a very good trend for Fulham. So I'm going to take a shot with Fulham or draw here, and then we're going to go over the 2.5. I think there will be goals here. Fulham has been able to score away from home and at home. I think they get at least 1 here against Brighton. I think Brighton would get at least 2. I think really if I was going to make a guess on this game, I would think this would probably be a 2-2 or 3-2 type game for Fulham to win. So we'll go over 2.5, and we go with the Fulham team on the road against Brighton and Hove Albion. Ipswich Town at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace minus 210. Ipswich plus 550. Plus 355 on the draw for this one. Palace has been playing great right now. They've won 5 straight against Ipswich. They're rolling hot. We're going to go minus the Asian handicap of minus 125, 1.25 that is, for Crystal Palace. We'll take them. They win by 2 goals. We cashed that one at a nice price, and we're going to go over 2.5 here. I think Palace may score 3 themselves, so 2.5 looks pretty lucrative to me. Palace has really got their offense going here in the last few games. They've been attacking very, very, very effortlessly and looking very good. So if they keep that momentum, they get a nice easy 3-0 win. We cash all sides of that bet. Southampton at Liverpool, 10 a.m. Liverpool just gets a late goal against PSG to win in Champions League action, 1-0. They are a $12 favorite here against Southampton. Now they will have to go back to Anfield and play. Now they're in Anfield now, so they're going to stay in Anfield, and they're going to welcome PSG back on Tuesday in a game that they're going to care a lot about. So I would say this is a very good underplay here. I think Liverpool may just be so good, and they even with reserves in this game, they may win, but they only won 1-0 in Champions League action today. So that means they got some work to do at home. So PSG is still talented enough that they could be troublesome. So you got to figure Liverpool's going to save some of their horses. Salah and some of these guys are not going to play the whole match, I wouldn't imagine. And I think that they'll be figuring we can get out of this. We'll be fine. Liverpool might win this game 3-0, but the total's 4. So we're going to go under the 4, and we're going to go with Liverpool on the Asian handicap. You could probably play them in minus 2.25. Even if you win by 2 goals, you win partial stake. So I would aim that way, but I don't think Liverpool will have their full attention on the very, very, very poor bottom of the table Southampton on Saturday morning. Aston Villa at Brentford. Brentford plus 125, Villa plus 190. Well, Aston Villa had a nice win against Bruges the other day. They've got points in their last 6 against Brentford, but I'm going with Brentford. Villa has played very well. I thought they maybe were going to take a dip, and that's why we like Bruges, and that was one of our losers yesterday in Champions League action. But I'm going to take a shot with Brentford here. Brentford, a small favorite, which is a little bit surprising. The price almost made me play Aston Villa, but I like Brentford a tad, plus 125. I like both teams to score. I think this will be a game that most likely may end up at a draw, a 1-1 type game. I think this will be highly contested, 2 pretty informed teams. So we'll take a shot with both teams to score and take a shot with Brentford at home. They've been very good there. Maybe even a tad, a peek at the over. If you can get a 2.5, might be a 2-1 Brentford type game. Everton at Wolves. Wolves plus 155, plus 195 on this one. I didn't agree with this price. Wolves have just been so erratic. I can't favor them here. Everton kind of priced as if they were pre-David Moyes. They've been better. They've been very business-like. I like them at plus 195, so we're going with Everton for sure. I think both teams will score in the game, and I think we'll go over 2.5. You can even find some 2s out there, which was a little bit surprising to me. I know Everton has tightened it up on defense, but they've been also able to score a little bit. So I think Wolves play so loose. They're liable to get an attacking play and score, and I do think Everton will score. So I think at least 2 goals in this game, and I like the game over in Everton and both teams to score. Sunday's action, Bournemouth at Tottenham. It'll be Bournemouth plus 170, a dog on the road at Spurs, who will be plus 140. The home favorite, draw plus 280. 3 of the last 5 in this meeting have went over the total. It's 3.5. Now, we've been touting Spurs as an over team all season long, but the last few weeks, they've tightened it up a little bit, and they haven't been scoring as much, and they have not been surrendering as many goals, which tells me they've worked on this enough to where they're getting back to like, okay, we can still attack, but we're going to defend too. So that worries me a tad. Bournemouth's form has still been pretty good, and I think they'll score a little bit here. So we're going to take a shot with Bournemouth or draw at the plus price on the road at Spurs. I don't really like anything in the total. I'm going to sit the total out. 3.5, a little too high for me to get on the over, and I don't quite trust Spurs enough to play it under. Leicester and Chelsea. It'll be Chelsea minus 525, Leicester plus 1050. Oh, Leicester's been so bad. We tried backing them a couple days ago to get a goal. We needed both teams to score. We just couldn't get it. Jamie Vardy's not even getting any opportunities, and he still has a little bit left in the tank. 7 straight matches against Leicester that Chelsea has grabbed points. So we're going to go with the Blues minus the 1.25 on the Asian handicap. You might even want to bump that up to a minus 2.25. This could be an ugly one. Could be a 3-0. I think Chelsea gets themselves into solid form with a nice win at Stamford Bridge against Leicester on Sunday morning. Then the afternoon game on Sunday, it's Arsenal at Manchester United. Arsenal minus 120, United plus 370, plus 245 on the draw. Arsenal, very impressive win the other day against PSV Eindhoven at PSV. Tough place to go, and Arsenal looked like they were back in full form. I still don't think the goals continue. I think they were very fortunate. I thought PSV played very, very timid and passive in that game. I didn't know what they were doing. Very, very poor performance out of them. Manchester United has a battle with Sociedad in midweek. Now, they played Sociedad yesterday, and now they got the return fixture, and I don't know. I really don't know where Manchester United's mind's going to be here. They have nothing to play for, really, in the Premier League. They're not going to be in Europe, but they're not going to get relegated. So I think Arsenal keeps their eyes on the prize that maybe, just maybe, Liverpool playing European football too starts tiring out a little bit. Maybe they can cut this lead down a little bit. I don't think they can. They don't have enough firepower after they've lost their 2 attacking players. But they've played a little bit better recently, so I would lean Arsenal in the game, and I'm going to go over 2.5 here. I think Arsenal at least gets a couple goals, and maybe United gets 1, and we'll make it a 2-1 game, so we'll go over 2.5. And then the final game, a Monday kickoff, it'll be Newcastle at West Ham. Newcastle plus 120, the road favorite. West Ham plus 225. I just can't back West Ham. The only thing I can tell you about West Ham that I will give you as a positive thing is defensively they're not terrible. They don't surrender a ton of goals, and that Jared Bowen is a really, really good player. He's really good. I wish he would not play for them. Hey, if he goes to a better club, oh man, sky's the limit. He's like only guy on the team on the pitch each week that just stands out like, man, this guy's really, really good. So keep an eye on him, Jared Bowen. If you want to play a guy to score a goal, he's really, really fun to watch. Just very energetic, pushing up into the play, and can score from distance, can make plays, just do a little bit of everything. But I do like this game under the total. Newcastle not bad defensively. West Ham struggles to score. We'll go under the 3 in this match. I think it's a low-scoring affair, and I'd lean Newcastle there, but I think this could be a 1-1, so probably passing on that one. All right. That does it for our soccer plays. Again, we've been red hot in the soccer. We'll keep it rolling. Hopefully we can stay hot in some of the other areas. We didn't have any horse racing this week. If I find anything in the Tampa Bay Derby for Saturday, I will put that up on BLS_PRP for you tomorrow morning. Sometimes at Tampa, if it rains, it makes the track very different. So I kind of tend to find prices if you can see a situation where you could get a nice rain before the race. It could play a little bit different. And I think you could get some horses that can maybe run a little bit better than their odds on that track. So we shall see. That's going to do it for us here on Bettor's Last Stand. Again, stay tuned to the Watchdog Network for all your basketball action, whether it's college basketball, high school basketball. Stay right here, watchdognetwork.com, for all the wonderful local programming as well, getting you up to date on all the things going on around the Wheeling and Ohio Valley area. Got West Liberty coming up here this evening against either Wheeling or D&E, and we'll have West Liberty and Wheeling games all weekend long, so long as those teams are playing in the Mountain East Tournament. You can hear them right here on the Watchdog Network, along with WVU men's and women's hoops, as well as Wheeling Central and Wheeling Park boys and Wheeling Central girls still here on the Watchdog Network. So plenty more to come from the Watchdog Network guys here in the Pine Room, folks. That's going to do it for us. Let's hope we can do another 142 units above sea level for this week. Until then, we will see you next week here on Bettor's Last Stand on the Watchdog Network, and have a safe and wonderful weekend, and good luck in your wagering.